Good day, everyone. Today we have a guest in the house, a great friend of mine that has become an important social pillar for me in KL. So coming to KL was definitely a challenge for me. Like socially, I was alone. But through a mutual friend, we got to know each other, and I safely say that this gentleman we have today is an adventurous, daring, and some say crazy one, right? A little bit like me, So he embarked on his career and his passion for food around the world, doing frequent food trips. Like everywhere I go, somehow I can ask him where to eat, where to dine, and he can tell me all sorts of interesting stuff around Asia, around Europe, and he took the leap of faith to join one of the best restaurants in the world, Noma. So some say the best, not like the best in Singapore, JB, and some say Batam, It's like legit. They are one of the best restaurants in the world. So if you don't know Noma, Google them. Very interesting place. And I've invited him on the show to share his experiences living and working in different countries, from KL to Singapore to Denmark, and why he ultimately chose to come back to KL to self-actualize on his vision. So let's welcome Mr. Joel Kerr.
Hey guys. Thanks Reggie, thanks for having me here.
Thanks for coming onto the
Alright,
show.
no worries,
I'm very happy to have you, and I'm very happy that you took time off your busy schedule to be with us. Like kitchen work is very long hours, right?
It is really long hours.
It's like 9.
But we still do get our off days though. So we still need to rest. So thanks for having me on.
How many days do you guys work a week?
The place I work at, it's 5 days a week, 2 days off. Yeah.
You want to share a little bit more? Where do you do now? What do you do?
I'm currently working in Sitka, a restaurant in Plaza Bata in KL. It's a really nice place that does modern Asian food. Very progressive as well, using a lot of local ingredients and championing local ingredients as well. Yeah, it's an amazing place.
Cool stuff. And I know you actually have a lot of short stories to share. Right? Our pre-interview was like, wow, super long, super fun, and amazing.
Too bad we had to cut it short though.
But yes. So I'm super excited, to talk to you about like life in different countries. How do you manage your finances, the experiences around? But before that, some would say that culinary, at least in our era, like we are millennials, like 20 plus 30s. So to join the culinary world, like to join food as an industry, it's pretty off the norm. It's pretty interesting, for Singaporeans at least. Like not many Singaporeans would be like, hey, I'm gonna like be a chef or like do culinary or join the food industry. So I actually classify that as challenging,
okay,
and so I'm pretty curious, like how did you end up here, and why did you decide that this will be the path, to go forward?
So personal experience, I think back when I was like 15, my dad literally asked me like, so what do you want to do when you grow up? So it's like, till then I didn't really think about it. You have usually some people say, I want to be a doctor, a lawyer and stuff like that, but I never really thought about it. So that really got me into thinking. And I guess I figured out then that I wanted to do something with my hands. And I didn't want to sit in an office and stuff like that. So I had a bit of experience growing up in a family that loves to cook, loves to eat as well. So I found myself cooking quite a lot at home, trying to sustain me and my brothers growing up. So I guess it resonated with me to work in a kitchen. So I just decided I want to be a chef. Yeah, that's when it all started.
That's pretty cool. And where was the first place that you actually properly joined the culinary world? Where was your first venture?
Properly join the culinary world.
Did you go through school, culinary school?
It wasn't really a culinary school per se. It was more of a F&B, food beverage management course. So I knew ultimately that I want to work in a kitchen. But at the same time, I knew that I want to run a business around the restaurant. And I needed to know management skills around that, how to build a restaurant, what goes into financing or accounting or marketing and stuff like that. So knowing that, I went into studying the management side of it. And not necessarily learning how to cook per se, but I was more worried about the management part of it. Yeah, so knowing that, I actually went to study management instead and went on to work in a kitchen. Yeah. So it's a bit weird because some people say, why do you study management and then work in the kitchen?
How did you end up in the kitchen?
It will basically pay so much to study management but work in the kitchen. So
is it like a common thing? Because from what I understand, the front of house, the management actually makes more than the back of house, which is the kitchen. Is it
generally yes, actually yes. But I had that thought in mind that I can't be learning accounting on the job, right? I'm not going to be an accountant, or I can't be learning finance on the job. So I knew that if I were to spend my entire time in the kitchen itself, I wouldn't have much time learning about management or accounting and stuff like that. So yeah, that was the plan. That was the game plan. Study management, get all that knowledge in your head first, and then go work full time in the kitchen.
Okay. So where was the first establishment that you joined?
Natalie's Gourmet Studio. It was actually my internship right after university in Taylor's.
Are they still around?
Natalie's, yes. Natalie's Gourmet is still around.
Yeah, you know, F&B very challenging, right?
It does, yeah.
Turnover
True,
is crazy.
true. But you know, I was lucky to find this French lady who opened a restaurant here in Malaysia itself, and she has some culinary experience as well, learning from one of the best chefs in France, Anne-Sophie Pic. So coming to Malaysia, finding her and like learning from her, really built a very good foundation for starting off. It was also really challenging because it was a new restaurant, and she was doing a lot of things, not only servicing the restaurant and service itself. It was caterings. So we did lots of caterings for the French embassy. We did private dining events. We did parties, cooking classes. So it literally opens up the entire gamut of what is possible within the F&B industry. Yeah. So working for her was really helped.
It's pretty crazy, yeah. First assignment French, like je français.
Yeah. But I mean, you in Taylor's, they literally teach you French techniques, and they teach you French language as well.
So Taylor haven't sponsored our podcast, right?
No.
But yes.
No. So at the university.
At that university.
That university.
But okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's the best school, but you know, that's what it generally taught us, lah. Up to you to make your own decisions.
And from there, I mean, you definitely, you know, ended up in Denmark, right? So it's like a whole journey to get to Noma.
Okay.
You know, I'm curious, like, why was that? You know, because you told me that was like a goal, like Noma is a goal, right? That you wanted to go towards, and why was that the goal? You know,
I guess I was in a point in life where I want to see, you know, sometimes you want to test yourself how far you can go. Like, what are you really capable of? And at that time, I thought Noma was the ceiling, right? Like in the food world, up and coming food world. And so with that in mind, it's like how I challenged myself, how far, whether I could actually survive in that environment. It's a really high stress, high pace, really difficult, emotionally, physically, mentally environment. So yeah, that was my ceiling, and I put that as my goal.
Okay, but to get there, you know, it's like
totally different story, man.
Totally different story. It's like a whole. I know you personally, so
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this, and you know, to get there, you actually took many stops in between. Right? And one of those stops was like Australia.
Yeah.
Right. So you took a leap of faith. You pack up your bags. You went to Australia, and you wanted to like go door knocking and find your job. Like it was like, okay, I don't want to.
Back then, Australia was like the place to be, you know, to earn money and to enjoy the cafe scene. It was booming. Back then, meaning like what, 5-6 years ago, when the cafe scene was booming. That was the place for many Malaysians to emigrate to, actually. So with that in mind, you know, I wanted to go there to look for a better opportunity in life, to learn from the best, to earn some money along the way. Yeah, so that was the goal, heading to Australia, you know, earn money, you know. Yeah, Malaysia is quite a difficult place to be for the F&B industry financially.
How much were you paid when you first started?
When I first started, Natalie's paid quite well. Back then, it was about 2000 RM 2002, which was slightly better than most places. So most hotels would pay you 1,500, 1,800 ringgit.
Seriously?
Yeah. Hotels itself, like 5-star hotels, pay you 1,500, sometimes even 1,200 if you have no experience. So Natalie's itself paid 2,000 plus. But you know, with that kind of pay, the responsibilities are there, the workload is there. So yeah.
Oh shit!
It was tough. Malaysia is still tough, actually. It hasn't grown much in the past 6-7 years. Actually, I've been in this industry for about 9 years, close to 10 years now, and it's only grown by a few hundred ringgit. You know, like.
So you mean that like if if today we want to start our career in culinary, you will still be paid like 1,008 ringgit,
2,000. Yeah.
Damn, in KL.
In KL.
How do you live on that? No,
That's
it's crazy, right?
That's the reality of
like passion project.
it is literally but some people just do it because you always hear of people that can't do anything else, so they go into culinary. But then again, because of the growing interest in the culinary world, you've got like cooking shows, Master Chef, and all this kind of learn how to cook online and YouTube and all this foodie thing coming up. Everybody wants to be a chef now. It's a cool thing to be a chef now. But back then, it was something that when you were desperate and you didn't have anything to do or you don't know what you want to do, you go into the kitchen, because you don't really have to think so much about it. It's just a daily grind kind of thing. So back then, it was like that. Nowadays, it's a totally different approach to it. And I think it's a good thing because more and more people are getting interested in the food that we eat. But still, it's not paid.
Yeah,
it's not paying enough. Financially,
it's still pretty crazy, right?
It is.
And that's probably one of the reasons why you decide to want to explore Australia.
Yeah.
Like to go there and I mean, you told me you pack up, you brought your money, you spent a month there, but this whole plan flopped.
Yeah. So basically, I saved up all this money, intending to move to do my internship in Noma. So Noma was the entire plan around Noma. It's a 3-month minimum of 3 months internship, unpaid internship, where you need to have a certain amount of money in your bank account for the government to approve your visa. You also need to be self-sufficient. You need to have your own rental. You need to have your own flight tickets. You need to pay for your own visa, which I did pay in Singapore when I was working in Singapore. We'll get to that soon. I think the visa itself was 1,500 Sing dollars.
Damn, just for visa?
Just for a visa. For the 3 months work visa, it was 1,500 Sing dollars. And then the flight tickets, and then your rental there, it's about... how much did I pay rental in Denmark? It was about 900 Sing dollars for a room in Denmark. So it was really a big financial strain if I were to do that with Malaysian ringgit, So
you actually calculated this thing.
Yeah.
And you had a very clear goal.
I did, yes.
And you added so essentially you calculated how much to get there, and then this whole financial
how to survive there at least. Yes.
So how much would that add up to?
Eventually, after actually doing it, I spent in total about 7,000 Sing dollars. Okay. I got cheap flight tickets from my cousin though. So
okay. So that was like a cousin hack.
Yeah. It's like a discount, flight discount. And also that I managed to find cheap housing. After months of searching for a cheap house, I was quite lucky in that sense. Cheap housing. I got discount on flight ticket. I didn't really, although as much as I wanted to eat at all the really good restaurants in Denmark, I had to really choose the ones that I really wanted to go. But other than that, it was just basically living off daily. Not really spending too much. And
and Noma was that goal, like going to Denmark was that goal. And in this process, Australia was supposedly to be the place to help me your finances.
To farm. Exactly, that's the word to use. To farm,
right? It's like Dota guys, right? Like, to farm your finances.
I mean, it's literally impossible to do it in Malaysia if you're in a not so well-to-do family and whatnot. If you're working your way up, saving by yourself, I mean, 2,000 ringgit a month, your expenses, your rental. If you have a car, you got to pay all this insurance and your maintenance and stuff like that. You literally have like hundreds of ringgit left a month to save. How much am I going to... I can't be saving 30,000 ringgit. That's like enough to buy a car. Come on. So spending 3 months in Noma literally can buy you a car here in Malaysia, Literally can buy you a car. So if I were to stay in Malaysia to farm that money, it would take me years. So no, I had to find a better option. Yeah.
So Australia was
the option, but now that I see
it opened up the world.
Going to Australia, trying to look for a job, also brought its own challenges. At that time we had a lot of Asian people moving there, doing student visas, trying to weasel their way into staying in Australia. So me doing that came with a bit of risk as well, because I didn't know if I could actually get a job. So you walk up to a restaurant. In my head, I'm thinking like, hey, hi guys, I'm here already. This is my resume. It's awesome. I studied French. I know accounting. I have my degree. I work experience in a French restaurant in a 5-star hotel. Like, hire me, man. Come on, I'm so good, And then we were like, do you have a visa? I was like, no, I need to get a visa when you hire me. And it's like, no, you get the visa, and then we can hire you. It's a catch-22, man. I'm stuck there. I'm just like, dude, wait. I need the visa to get a job, but I need a job to get a visa because the government says you need to have a offer letter to get a job. I'm just like going door to door. It's just like, hello, I need a visa, please. It's tough. It's tough. It was tough back then, yeah. But ultimately, got quite lucky. The last week when I was supposed to come back from Australia, literally close to broke. Spent all my savings in Australia itself.
That's how you became a surfer boy, right?
So I wouldn't say surfer. I did surf in Australia though, Great Ocean Road, but yeah.
Trust me, guys, I know you cannot see him, but we'll add a photo. He looks like a surfer, okay? The whole vibe is there, but yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
And last week Australia, what happened?
Last week of Australia, I literally blasted out emails to friends who were working in establishments in Singapore, in Australia. Was the desperate times where you literally just email anyone you could get your hands on, writing cover letters that were like totally not me, like oh hi, I really love your establishment, but deep down I'm just desperate to get a job. Hire me.
You're not alone, I swear. When I see all the letters that my friends write, it's like, even I did that, it's like...
It's crazy, yeah.
Crazy.
But sometimes you gotta sacrifice something, sacrifice your face to get a job when you're desperate. And then one of my friends in Singapore was working with a hotel in Singapore. And he replied back. He was like, hey, we're looking for someone in Singapore itself. Would you like to send in a resume? Would you be interested? So I was like, oh, to hell, man. Whatever to get me a job, So I sent in the resume, and thankfully enough, they replied quick. They did an interview on Skype. Within 2 weeks, I was in Singapore already with a job and working for this hotel. So it really took a very quick turn of all for the better. Stayed in Singapore for about 3 years. Yeah.
So I get it that ultimately you got to Singapore, and it's very much like a financial reality check. That pushed you to Singapore.
Yeah.
Right, and for lack of a better way to put it, right, you paid relatively well compared to here in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And I mean, you said that you believe that it opened up new opportunities for you working in Singapore, and it is very interesting because most Singaporeans will not tell me that. Like, being in Singapore opened up opportunity for me. Right?
Okay.
Right? So for you as a Malaysian, wanting to go to Denmark, Noma, and then thinking that Australia was your thing but failed and ended up in Singapore, it definitely opened up, like this whole new door. And could you give us some perspectives? Like, how does earning Sing dollar, actually change your life?
Wow. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it did help being broke, like living off bread and trying to make ends meet kind of thing. Like, you literally are living on a time bomb. Like, I personally don't like to borrow or take loans from family or whatever. Even until now, I don't even have a credit card. Like, I'm really against loans. So I really live within my means in that sense and try to stretch the dollar as long as possible. So, I do a lot of backpacking on budget and stuff like that. And going to Australia, like literally coming back with almost an empty bank account, really puts things into perspective. Like, you can actually live with very minimal things and really adjusting your expectations and how you live your lifestyle. So going to Australia with that mindset already, earning Sing dollars just somehow gives you a much bigger leverage. Literally opens doors, because if I were to continue living my lifestyle in my head as a backpacker or someone with no money, so you keep that mindset in your head, you live off every single Sing dollar that you get, you have so much more to save and so much more things you can do with the money you save. So I literally, I got addicted to it. Like, I literally put it aside 1,000 Sing dollars a month.
Shit, how much were you making Sing dollar a month? It's
About-
okay to share? Okay to
yeah,
share?
yeah, I was making about 2.8 in
Oh
Sing
wow,
dollars.
so it was
2.8.
like 2k RM.
Yeah, 2k RM to
2.8
2.8 Sing dollars.
Sing,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Huge jump.
Huge
I mean,
jump.
but then again, you're living in Singapore. You're paying Singapore prices. I understand that. But if you really look at it, right, dollar to dollar, the living expenses in Singapore, if you don't count the rent, like food wise, you just need food, right? Food is cheap in Singapore. You go to those MRT stops. Every MRT will have a place that sells you $1, $2 meal, right?
Bro, I think that's like a few years ago.
No, I still find it.
Now still have?
I still find it. Seriously,
Oh,
I lived
wow.
in Toa Payoh Central. Toa Payoh Central, at the bus terminal, in the middle, there's a chicken rice stall that sells you $1.50 chicken rice.
Damn, Toa Payoh guys.
Toa Payoh Central,
Damn.
$1.50 chicken rice. Where can you find that? Seriously, but it's not that it's not that you have to live off $1.50 chicken rice every day, but if you make it as a sustainable thing, if you really want to save money, it's available. You have food. It's not the best food you can get, but what's your priority? To survive, to save money, or to spend whatever you get? So my priorities back then was to travel, like, I got this money, travel. So I save $1,000 every month. I try to save $1,000 every month. My rental itself in Toa Payoh Central was like $950
Okay, that's
for a room. So, but I'm not complaining, I could afford it in that sense. So $950 out of 2,005 is about almost one third of my salary. So it is a bit high, yeah. But I wanted a place where I could, relax and call my home. So I did pay a bit of premium on the room. You can still find cheaper rooms around.
of course if you stay in Yishun.
Which I did. I actually stayed in Khatib at first.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so like one year I stayed in Khatib, and then the other 2 years I moved out and stayed in Toa Payoh Central,
Yeah.
closer to Orchard.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yishun, the land of weird shit.
but it's cheap The first room I rented was $750, and I got the whole room to myself. Really nice house and everything. Yeah, I mean, opportunities and cheap places are definitely available. Really nice places. If you just need you just need to find. Yeah, give it some time. It also maybe depends on a bit of luck. Who knows? But yeah, so I put aside that 1/3 of it for my living expenses, my housing.
But it didn't bother you like shifting to Singapore, have space constraint and pay so much? Because my context is I have a lot of friends from Malaysia, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I live here now,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I talk to people, and when I tell people I'm from Singapore, they give me that you think you're Singapore, you big kind of vibe.
Okay,
but
okay.
but that is okay. That's for another day.
Yeah.
But when I connect with them and talk to them, a lot of people actually don't want to go to Singapore because of this kind of lifestyle changes.
Okay, yeah.
Because
yeah.
honestly, for many people that live in KL, they graduate, they work a job, 5,000 a month. They can live at home, decent house. It's a house, not a flat, not a condo, not a room. It's like a house, and they have 2 cars on average, right? So going to Singapore and ending up living in a room,
It's a culture shock in a bit lah.
right? How was that for you? Right, when you first went there.
When I first went, I mean, going into it, like I said, I did a bit of traveling, a bit of backpacking as well. So I got used to the fact that living in small spaces, in close proximity, and honestly, I wasn't in any how to say, any position to complain. I'm there to earn money. I'm not there to live a lavish life. So I knew that there will have to be some kind of sacrifice. And then again, you're going to a new country, a new place. You can't be expecting to live the life you used to live before. Unless, of course, you're really financially steady and you have a lot of money to spend. Yeah, sure, go ahead. But when you go to a new country, you live how they live. We live within your means. And yeah, so I guess I didn't really bother me that much. Yeah, living with that kind of environment. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So then with that extra money that you gathered now, right? So it's like 1,000 every month.
Yeah.
What do you do with it? Yeah, I think you said you wanted to travel, and I know that during that period of time you traveled to a lot of places.
lot of places.
So yeah, come share with us some interesting experience. You know how making this Sing dollar, has opened up all these doors for you.
Yeah. I literally traveled, man. That was my intended goal in the first place. Like, I mean, of course, Noma was still at the back of my mind. I did save a little bit more for Noma, but when you start to see that money in your bank account growing, and it's like, oh man, am I just gonna leave it in a bank account and do nothing with it? Like, let's just enjoy a little, But then again, I don't go on like, for a budget backpacker, right? When I travel in Malaysian ringgit, when I travel to another country, let's say, you spend like 700 ringgit, 1,000 ringgit. It's like, man, that's a lot of money, And then you see in Sing dollars, right? That same amount of 1,000 ringgit, right? It's 300 Sing. Dude, it's like 3 times cheaper. Kind of lah, You get psychologically, you see the number is so much smaller, right? You can have the same experience, but with so much less money. Why not? So I just went into that craze, let's travel. I did like Philippines, Hong Kong, Bali, Europe, India. Literally went all over. It's amazing, man.
Damn, and wow, that's crazy. How long was that? How long were you in Singapore?
3 years.
3 years. So 3 years, $1,000 every month, and you travel to all these different places.
Yeah.
Man, that's cool. And
I have my friend to thank for it though. She's like the number one trip advisor. She'll look for every single cheap deal you can get and get the cheapest flight for you with the best itinerary. She'll do everything for me. It's like we enjoy ourselves, man, so much.
That's cool. Yeah. So what was, maybe share with us which place was the most interesting for you as a food lover. Some would probably, you can call yourself a food expert. I mean, you're in the culinary world, and for someone that loves to travel, you probably spend a lot of time with food, right? Like exploring different cuisine. Which was the few places that was very memorable for you?
I think every one of the places I travel to is quite memorable because, to be fair, every culture is amazing, right? If you're going to a new place with an open mind and not expecting much, but to expect to learn and to see what they actually eat and how it actually tastes like. So in Philippines, I went with close friends from Singapore. They're Filipinos. They're working in Singapore as well. So they brought us to their hometown. It was out in the paddy fields. Literally had lechon, which is like a feast, whole roast suckling pig where we literally had to guling the fleur for like 5-6 hours over charcoal flames. We put the whole piglet on the table over banana leaf. We had seafood, oysters, and chicken, and pig, and all that. That was amazing in Philippines. Balut, I tried my first balut.
Oh, I tried balut too.
yeah. It is an experience, but it's amazing how these people, it's so normal to them, It's like,
they sell it at 7-Eleven. That's how
they
normal
do.
it is.
Yeah. It's like pasar malam kind of thing, right? You just
yes.
walk on the street, you get like balut for like
balut.
5 for like few pesos, and it's like going to India, you get the food there. Traveling by train, they have this chai boys where they'll literally carry containers of hot tea, and the other hand will be like a whole stack of cups, and you just go by like chai, and you'll be like, how much? 10 rupees. 10 rupees is like dirt cheap cents, man. They'll give you a hot cup of chai, and they'll walk throughout the entire train full of people. You can even, like, when you're in the train, order your food through someone on the train. He will text the delivery guy at the next stop, and then they'll literally throw the food on the train so they'll pass it to you. It's like delivery service, but in the train station you don't have to move.
They literally have created like a network, right?
Yeah, literally. That was India. And then you go to like went to Jasmine Desert where we had our tour guide. We actually met this tour guide as a taxi driver. Took this taxi, and then he was like, hey, do you know anywhere we can get tours and stuff to the desert? And he's like, I can take you. It's like, no way, you're a taxi driver. Yeah, I have friends, blah blah blah, I can take you, I know the way. It's like, okay, sure, how much? Like, okay, we just charge you a simple rate, a cheap rate. Then we did that. He cooked for us in the desert, literally at night. He started a wood fire in the desert, in the sand, cooked some bread, he cooked some curry, and we sat there and see the stars in the desert in Jaisalmer. We had like amazing puri by the train station in the roadside, fruits, amazing. India was another experience, man. Literally everything is almost 99% vegetarian. We literally had to go to KFC to get a meat. After 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, we literally like begged this tuk-tuk drivers, like, do you know anywhere that sells meat? No, sir. KFC maybe. So we literally went to KFC to get meat. But every restaurant in India that we went to, majority vegetarian. So that was a bit tough for us. We literally had cravings for meat. Hong Kong, you had like really good dim sum. You had really good wonton noodles. Where else? Europe, Paris and Italy. Nothing much to say about that. But, it's like really good stuff.
I think the region, like ASEAN as a region has so much to offer.
Yeah,
culturally,
it does.
food-wise, and all these different elements. So, if you guys, I know a lot of people in Singapore, everyone wants to travel to like Europe, travel to America, travel to all the Angmo places, right? Fair, do your thing,
you have your own like interests.
Yeah, you love it. I know Japan is cool.
Oh, I love Japan.
We love Japan. Right? Ramen is interesting. When you go there, right, ramen is not ramen. Ramen is like a classification. There are tons of different styles there. So it's interesting. I know you want to travel to all these like, for like a better way to put it, more expensive places.
Exclusive.
More exclusive, more pricey, right? Pricey.
It
right?
is.
So
it comes to a price.
it's cool, but I mean, let's give the region a chance. I think Ho Chi Minh is interesting, like a melting pot. Hanoi, Vietnam is interesting, super. Like Halong Bay is super beautiful. I've not been to Myanmar, but
I like how you say like where is it in Vietnam? They are the Asian French people. They drink coffee at the roadside with the lorries passing by.
Yes. Yeah, let me share with you guys. If you've not been to Vietnam, I'm sure you know that some parts of Vietnam have been colonized by the French, and the French people, they like to sit facing the roads, right? They like to
plazas.
Yeah. So they face the plaza, and then like people walk past, so they do people watching, right? So in Vietnam, right, they have adopted the same thing. So people at the cafes, they face the road, but what they are facing is like lorries driving past
the road,
all the sand coming out, and then you see all these people like copying the French, looking at the road. I'm like, 有什么看? Like, what's there to see?
See lorry lor.
Yeah. So these are the interesting observations that you can pick up within the region.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that travel to Myanmar, like Bagan. They say it's very interesting, like all the golden temples, and Cambodia is a great place also. Culturally, it's very, very interesting. But my experience in Cambodia is, I couldn't really find a lot of very nice local cuisine that were not charging me tourist prices. So personally, I'm not a great fan of tourist prices. Right? It doesn't feel good, right? Like, I don't mind paying whatever you charge the locals at, but you charge me a premium 2 times, 3 times, it's not that cool. Right? So I think within the region, there's so much to offer. Of course, Bali is where everyone goes, but Lombok is an interesting place.
Gili Trawangan, Gili Meno, Gili Air, for diving.
Yeah, man, diving. Philippines, my Caribbean friend says that the Philippines, the water is amazing, right? So
even in Sabah, you don't have to travel so far, man. In Sabah, literally, Sipadan is one of the places that most international divers go to.
Really?
They love it. They love it.
Shit.
In Sabah.
Oh, that's cool.
So the best thing about it, you can go diving and then climb Kinabalu.
It's so near KK?
Yeah. I mean, within a few days, you can travel.
That's cool. Okay, yeah, man, we gotta do that one day.
Yeah, but you can't dive and then climb Kinabalu.
Of course, man, you're like super betahan already. You go crazy, man. But yeah, so Noma, man, like Noma, right? You can share with us like how was life like in Denmark? After all this traveling that you've done in Singapore and around the region because of the money you make, finally you have saved enough.
Yeah, finally
you save enough.
Thank you, Singapore. I love you.
Despite all these crazy things that you do, you still manage to save enough after 3 years. To get to Noma. Yeah. Right. And I'm very curious, like, how is life like in Denmark? So Noma is in Denmark, and how do you live there? What is the spending like? How the finances work? Because you don't actually make money. Yeah. Right, because it's a free internship.
Yeah, it's a free internship.
And I heard there are tons of people there.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
So share with us your experience, work reality with Noma and financial reality in Denmark.
So Noma, with the period I went to was 2 years ago, 2018. So July 2018. I did a 3-month stint there. Till there was a vegetable season that they do. It was
vegetarian.
No. I mean, Noma's concept is this, where every year they have three three seasons they call it. The early season where it's late winter, January till probably March or April, they will do a seafood season, because where during the winter is where all the seafood are very plump. They feed a lot and gain fat to survive the winter. So that's where seafood are usually the plumpest. So they do seafood season in the early of the year. They have a break. They close the restaurant and they reopen for a vegetable season in the spring, summers as well. And then coming to autumn, they do a meat season. So that's where they do a lot of game season, they call it. Lots of duck, lots of venison and all these kind of things. So I was there during the vegetable season during the late summer. Copenhagen, Noma is in Copenhagen, right? So Copenhagen is a city, right? You've got lots of public transport, but the easiest way to move around, and actually I would safely say every single one in Denmark has a bike.
Like a bicycle?
Bicycle, yeah, a bicycle.
Shit.
So they literally cycle everywhere, right? There are probably more bicycles than people in Denmark, in Copenhagen. You literally find bicycles everywhere, in the river.
In the river?
In the river, yeah. So you cycle drunk, you throw the bicycle in there or whatever.
Like the old bike shit, right? Like people throw the old phone and the old bike in Singapore.
Yeah, literally. Bicycles there are so easy to come around that I'm not saying that I endorse it, but some people just literally just steal bikes off the street, and just cycle it for a bit, throw it away, and then grab another bike somewhere else. So that's what they do, It's so common to find bikes everywhere. And there's even this thing where you can walk up to certain apartment buildings where they have a specific place. The one I was at, they kept it at a car park. You can actually walk up there and then take a look at second-hand bikes, and it's free to take.
Free to take?
Yeah, free to take. Yeah.
Damn.
So sometimes when people upgrade their bikes or whatever, right, there's nowhere to sell it. Sometimes
because there's just too many bikes.
There's just too many bikes. So they just literally put it aside and then put a note there that you can take it however you want. Of course, some of them are like, maybe not your height, or the brakes are a bit rusty, those kind of things. But it's still usable bikes. So you can literally, but it's the best mode of transportation in Copenhagen. You cycle everywhere.
Wow.
So definitely get a bike. You can buy one, you can rent one, you can rent daily, you can rent by hour, you can rent a whole month, no problem. Bike shops are everywhere in Copenhagen. So moving about, there was one. I got a place that was really near the restaurant. So I literally walked there. It was really, really good place. Although it's really hard to find Asian food there. Asian food in Copenhagen is really expensive. It's really, really expensive.
Asian premium.
It's the Asian premium.
Yeah, I know. It's like how Australia has like $20 Aussie dollar chicken rice, right? Like crazy
and
shit.
it's not cheap.
Yeah, it happens, and especially when you bring Asian cuisine to like more exquisite.
I mean, the ingredients are hard to come by. The people there are not so open to Asian food. Yeah, you don't get that full house kind of Asian restaurants.
Oh, really?
Yeah. To them, Asian food is like
exotic.
You go once in a while, that kind of thing. And back then, I mean,
so
Denmark has been a place. Copenhagen has been a place where food in itself has not been a big priority in the past years. Only recently, when Noma and restaurants like Geranium and all these other restaurants that start to come up in Copenhagen, they have brought the focus of food to Copenhagen. So before that, it wasn't really defined, the cuisine of Denmark. So Danish cuisine was like smørrebrød and seafood and potatoes.
Sounds very sad.
You get what I mean? But only recently, the Nordic food movement has brought this to light, that they have a lot of ingredients and they can make really good food out of it. So why hasn't anyone done that? So that's the whole idea of the Nordic food movement, where all these restaurants in the Nordic region are doing. They're using the local produce, whatever they can get their hands on in their vicinity to create really, really good food. And I think that's what I want to bring back here to Malaysia as well. Especially in Asia, man, come on. Malaysia has one of the widest varieties of produce you can find. We are in the equatorial region. You literally have every single thing you want. We even have our oysters here in Malaysia.
Really?
There's an oyster farm.
Oh shit, we have oysters?
We have caviar here, grown caviar in Malaysia. Like
I didn't
literally,
know
yeah,
that.
yeah. We have Malaysian
that's
caviar right now.
cool. That's cool.
Look it up, Malaysian caviar. You don't even have to buy your caviar from overseas now. You can literally go to the caviar farm. You can even order it online, whatever you want to do. Caviar farm here in Malaysia. You want oysters? We have really good rice from Borneo. You have langit. We have figs, local figs up in Janda Baik. We have, one thing that I never noticed until recently when coming back from Noma. Noma loves to use mulberries, right? And in Copenhagen itself, the ones that we know, because we go foraging, right? In Noma, we have a separate team that does foraging. So foraging means going out, sending a team out to the beach to pluck vegetables, to pluck herbs, to pluck flowers, to get fruits, so that the team back home in the restaurant can churn things out, right? Like vinegars or preserves or fermented stuff. So one of it is mulberries, and we get really nice mulberries in the late summer. But there's only one tree in Copenhagen.
Wait. There's only one mulberry tree.
One mulberry tree in the city of Copenhagen.
What the hell?
There's only one. And it's a hidden secret. Only people who know that the tree exists will go there. Literally, we have to climb that tree. And you know where it is now? It's next to a government building,
Shit, that is like real foraging.
It's
man.
real. It's
like
in the
urban
city
foraging,
Urban
right?
foraging,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, even urban foraging, we do come across like next to a petrol station where it's like a bushland or whatever. We find like knotweed. So it's like a mini bamboo where we cut down the barks to get used as a straw. So even do that, like get knotweed.
Yeah. Come to think of it, I think I have a friend. They are doing urban foraging tours in Singapore.
Really?
Yeah. So I cannot remember offhand, but let me get back to you
looking at that.
you
so
guys
coming back to the mulberry thing, right?
Yeah.
In Copenhagen, they adore the mulberry tree. They love it because it's
Because
so
there's
hard
only
to find. This is one, and because the whole season has to continue running, and if that tree runs out, right, you know where they have to get their mulberries from? From Sweden.
Oh wow.
They have to drive to the port, like ferry the car to Sweden, and then drive to the wilderness to pluck mulberries and then come back. It's literally a day trip just to get mulberries. But here in Malaysia, I find it everywhere.
Really?
Along the roads. Everywhere. Mulberry trees. Just keep a lookout. You'll find them really stubby. It looks like a blackberry. Usually, in the city, it's usually a red color. But in Janda Baik, where we get Little Farm on the Hill, they supply us with really, really nice sweet mulberries. You can use the leaves, you can use the fruits, make jams, use the leaves to make tea. You can use so many things. But that has opened up my eyes. Like, literally, we have so many things here just around us. You just need to open your eyes and look and see, which is amazing.
Wow, that is so cool. And from your experience in Noma, like what have you picked up, like life lessons? Like you talk about your working experience, all these interesting experiences, right? But what have you filtered out ultimately? What are some of these life lessons that you've gathered? It's not all about finance here, right, guys? I know.
Human connection.
Human connection. Share me more, man.
Ultimately, no matter how much money you make, whatever, you need that human connection, Like going to the best restaurant in the world, I think the best thing that I actually picked up from there was not the quality of work. Was not even it is a good thing, to learn and to live and see how far they are pushing cuisine. But ultimately, in that trying times, the one thing that keeps you moving forward are the people you work with. Yeah. So I think it's a really important thing, and it's a lesson that I brought back also. Yeah. Treat the people you work with right. Treat the people who work for you right, and treat the people who cook for you better. Like seriously, you hear all these horror stories, right? You send food back and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's bad or
So is it true? Do people actually?
They are.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that it's non-existent, but they are. I'm just saying that people need to treat
each other as
humans.
right?
Like, yes, they cook for you. Yes, they might not be as skilled or intellectual or well-to-do, but come on, man. These people, most of them in Malaysia, even in Singapore, hell, these people actually come from far away places to look for a better living, right?
So
they are not any different from us.
Yeah.
We are all looking for a better way of life.
Cool. And from
Right.
what I know, most of the chefs in Singapore are actually from Malaysia.
Wow, let's not go there. It's a very touchy topic, but yeah, it is true.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
true. A lot of Malaysians actually work in Singapore. So next time you go to a restaurant in Singapore, right, just ask your server or ask your cook. You know, majority of them are from Malaysia. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, personally, I have a few friends there in the industry, and they tell me they're just surrounded by Malaysians, and Malaysians. To me, I've realized that Malaysians are very very friendly people. You know, I feel personally, you know, of course, maybe it's not just a Malaysian thing. Maybe it's like a suburban mindset. People that are living more in the kampong, they're more friendly, and then as you get closer to the city, somehow the barriers kind of build up. People get a little bit more defensive here and there, and I have another guest that will come on the show to talk a little bit about this, right, in due time.
Nice.
But yeah, I know that you always talk about like living life in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I'm sure all these experiences that you've gathered through, you know, like KL to Singapore to Australia, Noma, and all these different places you've traveled, you know, they all kind of talk about to live life in the moment. But
Yeah.
what does that actually mean to you? Could you just kind of share some clarity there?
What does living life in the moment mean to me? I mean, of course, it's not to say that you don't plan for the future or you don't have any plans or dreams. I mean, I started off with the dream of going to Noma, right? But living life in the moment, I guess, is like your day-to-day choices, the choices that bring you forward, little steps that you take, little decisions that you take. Like, I literally, when I was in Singapore, right, trying to save up for Noma, it was just like, do I want to spend $5 on a meal, or do I spend $150 on a meal? That was, to me, was that literal day-to-day living life in that moment, because I know all these little things can add up to a much bigger problem in the future. You know, if I were to spend every day lavishly, like, I don't know, McDonald's, you know, lazy, let's just order McDonald's. Dude, it's gonna set you back so much, you know. It's like you order McDonald's once a month compared to once a week. That's like gonna set you back quite a bit financially, lah. Yeah, I think it's living life in the moment is not really going all out gung ho and stuff like that. You can be, right? But then again, it's all up to your choice. I think being aware of the choices you make, that is what it is to me.
Oh, that's cool. And of course, it's not all about your choices that lead to problems, right? Your choices also led you to opportunities, and ultimately get you to where you're at. And you know, you decide to come back to KL. Yes. To actualize. You know, you told me like, well, it's called self-actualization, right?
Technically, I didn't choose to come back to KL. It's just that I finished my internship in Noma. Then I did a bit of travels in Japan and Korea and Taiwan. So after traveling, coming back to Malaysia again, I was broke again. I don't know. I always end up broke. You know, broke in a sense that I still have money in the bank account, but just I felt unsafe having so little, especially now coming older of age. You know, becoming older, you wanna have at least a little bit of buffer,
like a safety net,
like a safety net of money in the bank. So I feel I could at least support myself if anything happens. So when I say broke, doesn't mean zero bank balance. So coming back to Malaysia, I knew that I had to start saving back again for you know further opportunities and whatnot. So
was it a struggle when you first came back, like financially? You know, because you were making Sing dollar, and then you went to Noma, you spend because you didn't make anything, and then you come back. It's like the financial practices, they keep changing, right? From Sing dollar, you're making a lot.
And I tend to spend more when traveling, you know. It's like, I'm only here once. Let's just do this.
Yes. I think many people do that. Many people do that.
And that's a challenge. That's a really big challenge. Because I'm probably never going to come back again, or I don't know when I'll be coming back again. So I'll just spend. But ultimately, coming back to Malaysia, it was a bit of a financial struggle, because, you know, you live a certain lifestyle in wherever you are, and coming back, you just need to readjust that expectations. You're no longer in a European country where beer is like €1. You know, you come back here, it's like, oh, I need a drink. Like 10 ringgit, 15 ringgit. Like, whoa, bro. Yeah. So a lot of adjustments need to be made lah. Yeah, and but then again, food is much easier to come by. Convenience has made me go out to eat more often. So I used to cook a lot in Denmark, in Copenhagen, to save money. So I buy a lot of ingredients. I cook at home. You know, it was just toast, eggs, and sausages. Like literally the whole entire week. Cereal in the morning with milk. Just make simple things just to get by. But coming back to Malaysia, you know, mamak is there, chicken rice is there. You just need to drive, find parking, and just pay and pay and pay. But then again, it's because of the convenience. It's the price of convenience you got to pay. You know.
Fair. And you didn't go back to Singapore after you came back from
Denmark. I did go back for interviews. Yeah, I still wanted to go back to Singapore because you know the financial. I knew I could easily get a job in Singapore. I have friends, you know, after the 3 years in Singapore, I had friends who are in the industry already who are looking for people.
Connections,
so,
right?
Connections and stuff. So I literally sent out emails back once again, looking for jobs in Singapore. So within that meantime, while waiting for their replies, I did a part-time stint at Sitka. So I was trying to find an establishment that was actually with the same viewpoints and standards of what I want to achieve with food. So bringing that mindset back from Noma, using what you have available in your own region, trying to cut down on like importing stuff and using premium items and stuff like that. Literally just work with the ingredients that you have around you. Of course, I'm not saying that you have to be 100% self-sufficient in your ecosystem, but I'm saying you work with as much as you can, work with whatever ingredients you have. And Sitka was one of them. Of course, you have now, it's quite famous, Dewakan. So I did also apply to Dewakan, but they didn't return back to me. So Sitka was the one that actually came back to me first. And literally, I sent out the email, and an hour later, I got a phone call. And it's like, can you come in this Friday? It's like, yep, sure, I'm free. So
wow.
And then it just started off from then. Then again, you know, you open up yourself and people will come to you eventually, you know. And started off as a part-timer while looking for jobs in Singapore. Yeah.
And then?
Eventually evolved into like, you know, they psycho me into staying. Like, you know, oh, why are you going to Singapore? Singapore's shit. The food scene in Singapore is a tricky one. A tricky one to deal with. As much as they try to paint a picture of sustainability and stuff, which I don't doubt they are doing it, but I am Malaysian first and foremost, right? I'm not saying that I'm very patriotic or anything but I still want to do something here in Malaysia. That was the tipping point So they are a restaurant. Sitka is a restaurant where we want to push boundaries to help Malaysians understand that we can do so much better here in Malaysia itself. I'm not saying to compare with other countries, but here in Malaysia itself, there's so many opportunities, so many things you can do if we all work together. Yeah,
that's cool. So, you know, like sacrificing finances.
Oh man, yeah,
right. You know, it's like we are at the age, right?
It's kind of. It's kind of annoying. Like I worked my way up from like 2,000 ringgit to like 2,000 Sing. I'm like, yeah, man. And then coming back, it's like you're back to 2,000. You know, it's like, oh man.
Oh shit.
It's like up and down. And like somehow I feel like these sacrifices hopefully will be, you know, it will pay off in the future.
Is it worth it now? Like, do you feel worth like coming back and sacrificing? Do you see the change in the culinary world in Malaysia?
Well, I've only been back like slightly over a year.
Okay.
Yeah,
So still young.
A lot of things to work to.
But a lot more to come. A lot more interesting stuff coming, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
you know, and you're definitely one of those people, like we talk about, like living life in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Like opportunity here, you know, and it's aligned with your values, you jump on it.
Yeah.
You know, or you go and explore, you try different things. And for many people that, from my experience, right, meeting all these people that live in the present, live in the moment, they don't really engage much in like financial plan for the future.
Okay.
You know, like don't see further, right? It's just like now.
Yeah, like hippie kind of thing.
Yeah, a bit like hippie, you know,
Okay.
for a period of time I was also like a bit hippie, right? Like backpacker, you know, you're surrounded by all these kind of people.
Hey guys, don't know whether you can trust this guy, right? Hippie but financial planner. Hey. So jabbing you. Don't edit this out, don't edit it.
But yes, you know, so I've been through like a whole roller coaster ride
Yeah,
myself,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and I talk about it very
Mm,
extensively in the show. You know, from being scammed to traveling to ultimately getting to where I am. You know, but my experience.
But I
with
think with
people,
your experience, it gives you a more informed
yeah, it
decision, yeah?
definitely
because you know the highs and lows
Yes,
of living
yes,
life financially.
and
Yeah.
I think that the reality is that if you get something easily, you know, you lose it easily. I think that
Yeah.
is quite true. You know, like
Yeah.
it or not, it's quite true. My personal experience is because I go through all this grind, and I became a lot more aware of my spending.
Yes.
You know, why
Yeah,
I do certain
yeah,
things.
yeah,
You know, and,
yeah.
and it sounds like you have gathered that also.
Yeah.
So through this process, right? Like, do you find that at this current point in time, because before that you keep saying you broke, like keep doing all sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So at this current point in time, going through all this, you know, has that
Mm.
changed, you know, the way you plan your finances?
No, I'm still broke.
And then why you're on the show?
I'm still broke. Because this thing, you know, like coming back to Malaysia, is alright. It doesn't mean that I stop wanting to travel or I stop all my interests. You know, I still have those interests, and only recently that I, you know, coming back to Malaysia, right? Working with Sitka. Sitka is a place where we always, like I said, we try to push certain boundaries. So right now we are working on a project where we're gonna do pizza. None of us have any experience in making pizza, or none of us even have experience or knowledge about very good knowledge lah. I mean, basic knowledge, yes. So the bosses decided to make a trip to Naples, and they invited me to join them if I wanted. And you know, for me, going to Naples, the birthplace of pizza, many call it a birthplace, and yeah, it was a really good experience to go to Naples and to learn how to make pizza. So I spent most of my money on getting the experience, you know.
Yeah.
It's a really good experience. So I'm saving back. I just managed to finish off paying that.
So
that
yes, like
trip,
I know you shared a little bit about, you know, what you're gonna do, what you guys are doing now, but to end up the show, you know, I just want to hear any more interesting projects like you have going on for you.
Interesting projects. With the restaurant Sitka itself, we'll be opening a new place in Rexcale. There'll be a pizza place. So we went to Naples to learn how to make pizza. Yeah. So Rexcale will be an interesting new project coming soon this year. So keep a lookout.
And your personal Instagram page.
Personal Instagram page. Well, if you guys want to. I don't know. I don't really post much though. But you can follow Kri. KRI. Yeah. So that's me on Instagram.
Super cringy, but
Cringy,
yes.
you know, that's what my friends call me. You know, so, because they can't pronounce my surname, so it's like Jewel Krik. So it's just like Krik. Okay, like Krik. Yeah.
Super cringy, but you know, I'm super happy that you took time off to come on the show to share with us your insights living in different countries and, you know, your upcoming projects. Wish you all the best.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you. Thanks for
See you
coming.
guys. Thank
See
you
ya,
for
guys.
listening.
Bye. Hey guys, I hope you learned something useful today, and I really appreciate that Joel took time off to come to the show to connect with us and share with you all the insights. There will be more interviews to come, and I'm very happy that you guys are enjoying the podcast, and we are having a whole load of guests coming on, you know, to share with you all the interesting insights. So if you have any other interesting person that you want us to interview, you want us to talk to, please let us know. Join our community Telegram group, join our Facebook page, and chat with us. I look forward to hear more from you. See ya!